So my name is Alberto Danese. As Maria said, I started as a data scientist myself, so as an individual contributor, but then I moved into a leadership role in data, and so I will focus on this, because nowadays we have technology, we have AI, we have generative AI, plenty of opportunities, but technology is not the only things that is needed. There are many more ingredients that are needed to have a successful implementation of AI in companies. So I will focus on this, but before jumping on this topic, let me show you in two pictures what the evolution of AI has been for me in the last 10 years. How many of you have already seen this picture? No one, and that's a good thing, so I can explain it to everyone. This is taken from a very nerdy website that is called XKCD, and it's taken from 2014. So on the left, we have a guy that has taken a picture and is asking, can I check if the picture has been taken in a national park? And the lady on the right, that's supposedly a computer scientist, says, yes, for sure, it's a lookup of the coordinates, it's a GIS lookup. It's a matter of hours, minutes. And the second question is, can we check if it is a picture of a bird? Okay, I'll need a research team in 5 years. That's the answer. So the short story is that in computer science, it's difficult to explain what is very easy and what is virtually impossible. And that's 2014, so not even 10 years ago, actually, it's later in that year. So the idea is that to identify a bird in a picture, it would take 5 years, a research team, and anyway, it was virtually impossible. I had the same task. I did it 3 days ago when I was preparing this presentation. And okay, I took a random picture of a bird, I opened ChatGPT, and I asked, okay, what kind of bird is this? It's a sparrow, that's a kind of bird. It gives me all the possible information that I can get. It's not a male, it's either a female or maybe a juvenile, and plenty of information. In 3 seconds, with a free service, and the point is that I'm not even surprised, because for me it's become the new normal. So it's, okay, I'm taking this for granted. So that's the situation really of AI nowadays. So the point is that we have a lot of breakthroughs in AI every day, novelty really every day or every week. We have more possibilities of integrating AI in our daily lives, personal and professional lives, and opportunities to evolve business, to disrupt business. But the point is that it's not all flowers and sunshine, as they say in the US. My experience is that many of us, as individuals or as companies, are struggling actually in implementing AI. There is a nice number by Gartner that says that 85% of AI project fails, somehow fail. Maybe they never make it to production, or maybe they go to production, but they do not bring the expected revenues, the expected return. So just a small portion actually is super successful. And the idea is that also the people working on AI, that are a key ingredient, obviously, actually leave very quickly the job they have. So usually they stay at the same job for less than 2 years. And again, it's difficult to make something meaningful if you stay for a shorter period of time in a company. So what I would like to do today is really share my experience, give some hints and tips. As Maria said, I will be very practical because that's the way I am. I will, take inspiration from my recent past. I've been working for the same company in the last 5 years. It's an Italian company. It used to be an Italian-only company. Now it's a European one, working in digital payments. And I had the opportunity to create a data science team. Actually, there had been a previous attempt, unsuccessful attempt, so I had to start from scratch, let's say. And after 5 years, we are a large group of more than 20 people, engineers, scientists, obviously, analysts again, as well. And in this journey, I learned a lot of stuff. I made some mistakes, some good choices, a mix of the two, so I'm trying to summarize some hints for you. Just a slide on my background. I've been working for more than 15 years in the technology area. I'm focused on data and AI. I've been focused for the last 10 years, the last 5 at Nexi, that's the company that I was mentioning. I am the head of data science. That is a job title that may mean a lot of different things. For me, head of data science is leading 20 plus people in 3 teams, not only scientists, but engineers as well, and analysts as well. And we really try to take care of data science end to end. So from working with the stakeholders to prototyping, developing, and also running the solutions in production. And I do a lot of other stuff, to be honest, but I won't lose much time on this. I wrote a book that is called Data Culture, previously in Italian and last year in English. And I'm a Kaggle competition grandmaster, so I can brag about this when I interview the junior data scientists that want to join us. So I will try and focus on 4 topics, even if the first one will be definitely the bigger one. I will focus first of all on people, because I'm passionate about algorithms, about AI, but people are really the key. Then I will tell you something about projects and stakeholders, a few hints on platforms as well, because it's a very important topic. And I will close with a final slide on the challenges that I'm facing right now, me, my team, and I guess many other people in AI. So let's start with the people. The first question that I got when I joined Nexi early 2019 was a simple question. Where do we put a data science and AI team in the company? And it's a very simple question, very difficult answer actually. You have many possible approaches. A traditional one is putting data science team within IT. Because actually we code a lot, so we are somehow IT guys and girls. That's an opportunity. You can do this, but you often end up being far from the business, and you end up like yet another IT team. Otherwise, you can be in a business unit, maybe in the largest business unit in the company, but you have the opposite problem, because maybe you are very fast at prototyping, but when you have to move to production, you end up being very slow. You can be fully decentralized, but that's, in my opinion, a big problem, because everyone moves on its own, and you have no coordination whatsoever. So we decided to implement this hub and spoke approach. Hub is the central team, the one that I lead, and spoke is another way to say satellites. So in each business unit, we have either data scientists or, as I call them, power users that work with us on a daily basis. So this is a picture that represents let's say, the organization that we actually implemented in the company. So what have been, after 5 years, the pros and cons of this approach? I think the pros overweight the cons, so I'm personally happy of this solution. It works very well in some cases and okay in some others. But I think the first pro is that you get a good balance, because you have a strong central team. They take care also of some strategic choices on data science, on the technology, supporting data science. But you also have people in the business units that leave the business units, that respond to the head of the business units, and they have different priorities. And so it works very well, and you have also good cost efficiency, in my experience, because the technological choices usually are done at hub level, so are done centrally. And you can adapt to each business unit style. As I mentioned, I work in digital payments, that is credit cards, debit cards on one end, and point of sales, payment gateways on the other. And we adapt to the 2 different business units. In one case, we are more involved in the projects. In some other, we have a very strong spoke that take care of the business unit project. So you can adapt in this way. The cons is that in some cases, you may have the spoke's loneliness, as I say, because maybe you have a single person in a business unit working with data, and he ends up doing data everything, you know. And at the end of the day, he or she is willing to join the central team, not to feel really alone as the only data guy or data girl in the team. So we decided to have like a minimum size for the spoke. At the end of the day, in a large business unit, we have a spoke. In the other ones, we take care of projects centrally in the hub. There is a bit of an effort also to align the different spokes, because we have a strong centralized team, but many satellites. So we have sort of a data community where we meet on a regular basis to, share the evolution also of the technology and also the methodology that we use. But I think it's not a huge effort. So for me, it's a good choice. Let me show you how we are actually organized within the hub. As I told you, I lead 3 teams, plus a couple people that are in staff directly to me. The first one is sort of an L. I call this the L model, because the first team actually takes care of the pure engineering stuff of the data platform, as well as at the moment, a single big project, data science project. So it's a bit of a mixed team. Strong IT skills, but then they are themselves users of the data platform. The other 2 teams, on the other end, they are pure data science teams. One taking care of business insights, supporting the development of the business, and the other one, it's working mostly in fraud prevention. That's a big topic for credit cards and digital payments. And then I have some people working in staff with me on some specific matters. The point is that the activity that the first team does, the data platform, is used also by the spokes. So as you can see on the right side of the slide, we have many business units that use the same technologies as the central team does. And this has proven to be quite effective to move fast. The point is that in this team, I try to adopt like a cross-functional team. So I have people with a mixed background. Let's say we see what we do as a product, really. So we take care of the data layer. That's very important. The technological layer, obviously the algorithms, AI, machine learning, you name it. And sometimes a little bit of visualization when needed. So we take care end-to-end of our solutions. And for instance, we have an engineer in each team. So also in the 2 teams that are pure data science one, like number 2 and number 3, we have a data engineer there working together with the team. This has proven to be very effective, and this is the current configuration, because I forgot to say this is how we work now, that we are 20 plus people. It was not the same at the beginning because we were a much smaller team, and so we were, let's say, we had fewer organizational levels. But I think having a mix of skill is really crucial in delivering then solutions in all different teams. This was, an organizational part. Let me move really to a personal, individual part. And so I would like to speak about hiring and retention. These are key topics for me as a hiring manager. I spend quite a bit of time with the HR department when we have open positions. My experience is that it's very hard to hire people in data science, especially for traditional HR. Probably, does anyone in the audience works in HR? Okay, one over there. Okay, it's difficult. It's difficult, in my opinion, to get the different nuances between a data scientist, a data engineer, a cloud engineer. So we work really hand in hand in the selection process, and it's difficult, especially for senior roles. I typically prefer to grow the team from junior when they have the potential to mid and to senior levels. But sometimes we had to hire senior people directly, and it's been very challenging and time-consuming as well. And there are different ways also to do assessments. I don't want to open this book because it's a long story, but in my opinion, tech assessment is important, but it's not the only aspects to deal with. The second point is retention. I think, first of all, it's a very good metric to measure because at least my experience, I work, let's say, 90% of my time on the Italian side of the company. The company now is a multinational. I spend a bit of time also on the business outside Italy, but not so much. At least in Italy, there is a growing request for data scientists, data engineers. So if you get a good retention, it's definitely a perfect KPI. It means you are working well. But no matter what you do, you may end up losing someone in the team because the market is very hungry for skilled engineers and skilled scientists. So it may happen to lose someone with some crazy offers from different countries, or also from Italy. But still, it's important to have a good workplace, obviously, as for any job. So creating a growth path for people is a good way to keep a high retention rate. And let me open this chapter about something that happens in the US, and in my opinion doesn't happen as much in Europe, that is really rewarding individual contributors. Because the picture on the left has become viral last year. This guy is like a data engineering influencer, if I can call him this way, and he published his salary progression in the US. I was not surprised at all because I know how much big techs are paying, so for me it's pretty normal. But some people got surprised because they do not realize that these are the kind of salaries that they have in the US. But the point is not the salary itself, but the fact that from junior to senior roles, this guy in the same geography tripled his salary, more than tripled his salary, without becoming a manager. So this guy has never managed anyone, so has always been an individual contributor. At least in Italy, this doesn't happen. As an individual contributor, you usually plateau to a certain level, unless you take on people responsibility. But I think it's something that needs to be thought. You have to reflect on this because I think the amount of money that is paid in the US is actually proportional to the contribution of some senior and lead scientists and engineers. So in my opinion, actually, a strong lead data scientist actually gives a contribution that is 3 times as much as a junior. And now that he or she has also all the tools to assist coding and stuff like that, they can become extremely fast and extremely effective. So in the US, they are really rewarded in this way. In Europe, I think they are not as much. So you have to take care of senior people because especially US companies can really go shopping in Europe quite easily. And for this topic, I think the dual ladder that is present in some companies, it's common in the US, in big tech, in Europe not as much, but it's a very good solution because you may get a separated ladder for technical roles and managerial roles. I have a few friends that are not my co-workers, I mean, that work in big tech for American companies, but from Italy, and they are individual contributors, very high level, and they have a salary that reflects their skills. So it's pretty normal in the US to have skilled individual contributors that earn much more than junior managers, for instance, junior engineering manager. And this is taken from a handbook of an Italian company that implemented this dual ladder. And in my opinion, it works. It works very well. It's something that many companies should adopt. And let me talk also about collaboration, because as I told you, I started from scratch, the team in 2019. I've been working with let's say, a growing team of internal people, of colleagues in my 3 teams. But then I also leveraged some collaborators, some specialized partners, and the cloud provider. We decided to use the cloud for everything we do. And so we also got some specialized support from the cloud provider, so at the level of solution architects, for instance. And working with these 3 entities, so employees, collaborators, and then specialized, maybe certified people from the cloud providers, has been very effective. We do not fully outsource data science activities. For me, it's impossible because it's not exactly like coding, like pure software development. You need to have a grasp of the content of the data. And you can leverage some partners in case of need, but without fully outsourcing the project. So we don't have turnkey projects, really. Well, this approach has given us quite a bit of flexibility with a strong team that is a team of employees and then a team of consultants, of collaborators, growing or shrinking depending on the need of projects. Okay, this was really the first part, the part focused on people. I think I gave you a broad overview of what's been my experience really in scaling from 0 actually to a team of 20 plus, and it's been quite effective. Let me move to the project and stakeholder part, because I think I could tell a lot of stuff on this topic, but I would like just to highlight 3 things. The first one is really the division between proof of concepts, prototypes, and minimum viable products. I think my personal choice when it comes to new projects is to focus on MVPs, so minimum viable products. As I say, these are solutions that may be ugly, maybe unpolished, but at least they solve a specific business need. And in this way, in order to build an MVP, you need to have a clear idea of what you're doing. Maybe you are solving a small problem in a manual, not automated way, but it's a real need. On the other hand, I see many cases, also in my previous experiences, a lot of focus on the POCs, that in my experience is not so effective, because maybe you test a new technology without a clear idea of what you're going to do with this, and you end up losing time most of the times, really. So for me, focusing on MVP is really the first priority. The second part is really talking about ROI, because when you deal with the top management, you always have the question, okay, so what's the ROI of this project? And it's an extremely complicated topic. I hope you agree with my picture of the iceberg, because it's easy to talk about AI. In some cases, you have AI project with a good, reasonable ROI that you can measure without many biases. Usually it happens, at least in my experience, when you measure some rates. You have the conversion rates of a commercial activity, you have the detection rate of fraudulent transactions. You have many of these rates, you can measure them. And so you can actually say, okay, I lowered my false positive rates on fraud detection by X points, and this gives us an amount of money. Or maybe I increased my detection rate, and so we saved X euros in prevented frauds. So in these cases, you can measure directly ROI, but there are many other activities where you cannot measure an ROI, either because it's just plain difficult, because maybe you do experiments and the market changes, so you cannot benchmark yourself today with the performances you had 6 months ago with a different market, so the context changes. But in some other cases, you also have some enablers that have a negative ROI. Let's put it bluntly. If you invest in a modern data platform, you don't get an ROI. It's an enabler for all the following projects, but at time 0, it's a negative. It's a strict negative. So I think working on some core enablers, like a data platform, like a data lineage, data quality tools or framework, is something that has to be done, even if it doesn't have a direct ROI. It's a complicated topic, but I think it's important, especially when dealing with top management, to balance activities that have a direct ROI with some enablers. Because sooner or later you will need a common layer of data quality as well. And this slide, I love this guy, Alex Everloff. I don't know him personally. I guess he's a Swedish guy, if I'm not mistaken. And he wrote this article that is, you built it, you own it. That's really a revolution with traditional IT, because historically, you have, in IT, let's say in traditional IT, you have someone developing and someone else running. So you have an IT operation team that takes care of running a solution that's been deployed in production. This was the approach, let's say, the level 0. Level 1 is what the Amazon CTO said more than 10 years ago, that is, you build it, you run it. So when you talk about DevOps, developing and operation, it's really trying to cancel this division between the one that develops and the one that runs. Actually, this guy says, not only you build it, you run it, he says you build it, you own it, so you are the owner end-to-end. And this is exactly the product approach that I like. That is, you develop the concept, you put it in production, you run, and you are directly involved with the business stakeholders to see not only that the project is up and running with no incidents, let's say, but also achieving the goals that originally were set. So I really like this guy. He has a nice blog. I think you can read it if you like. Let me move to the third part, that is the platform part. And let me check the time. Okay, I have to rush a little bit, but I'm close to the end. I think just 2 slides on the platform and processes. Every company has its own processes, so it's difficult to generalize, really. But especially when talking about generative AI, but AI in general, I think it's quite easy to use a standalone feature. All of us have been using ChatGPT or whatever. It's straightforward. It's not so difficult to integrate a generative AI feature within a single software, maybe calling APIs, okay? But when you have to use AI in a large company across multiple systems, built in different eras with different technologies and so on and so forth, you cannot avoid having a strong data foundation on which you build generative AI-powered tools and solutions. So again, I'm a fan of investing in data and AI platforms. It's been very important for us. Luckily, we managed to do this starting from 2019, and we are still investing in data platforms, even if they don't have a direct ROI. It's important because it creates a common layer that, in our cases, for instance, is responsible of putting together data coming from very different systems, because we deal with credit cards, and a lot of data in the credit card world is still on legacy mainframes and stuff like that. So you need to create a common layer in order to use AI. And the last part in this section is just a hint on cost monitoring, because there are some crazy stories. Not many become public, because companies usually don't like to shout about them burning money on the cloud. But there is this story from Adobe that in a week spent $500,000 because for some mistakes in the configuration, they were spending $80,000 a day, really on a wrong configuration. And it's a good story to read. There is the whole article, because you need to be very quick in understanding if you have problems in spending on the cloud. And it may happen to get carried away when experimenting with AI, with algorithms, and not take care of the costs. Because you're doing this on the cloud, obviously, unless you have a big data center full of GPUs. And the other end is that it's easy also to have an old-style cost control at a common central level, but it's not very effective, in my opinion. So it's important to have cost control really close to the guys and the girls that are using the systems. So trying to push the responsibility downwards in the hierarchy, for me, it's super important. I have just 2 more slides. This one is the challenges that I'm facing right now. 3 challenges, if I have to find 3. The first one is, I say in a provocative way, dealing with the generative AI frenzy. Because I love generative AI, I think it will really change the way we do business. But there are a lot of activities on traditional machine learning and artificial intelligence, as also Dennis Rothman said, that are making a lot of money. In the presentation by Dennis, he talked about a lot of traditional machine learning, operation research, and other stuff that is super effective. So it's great to have generative AI, but we still have also traditional AI and machine learning that cover different range of problems. So for this, you have to do a lot of education, in my opinion. The second point is balancing innovation and the company needs, the business needs. It's tricky because everyone wants to stay ahead of the current developments, but you have to understand what the company actually needs. So it's difficult, especially for junior people, to find this balance. It can happen to self-segregate in the group of AI nerds, but you have to find a balance for this some way. And the last point is that it's very difficult to keep up with the developments, because if you take 1 week off, you feel already behind. You feel like you're lagging behind. There are novelties that you missed. And I think it's more of an imposter syndrome. I understood this word from, from Conrad. I think we all have a bit of imposter syndrome. But yeah, the real breakthroughs are not so many. There is a constant growth, but it's not so difficult to keep up once you have the basics. Okay. Let me close with this quote that I just love. This is the Amara's law. Amara was a technologist that died a few years ago. We tend to overestimate the effect of a technology in the short run and to underestimate in the long run. I think this is perfect because we think AI is changing the world tomorrow. My idea is that it will not change the world tomorrow, and maybe not even in a month or 6 months. But I guess we are underestimating the effect in the long run. So I think this is something that you have to think about. And this is my attempt at Polish. Dziękuję, I guess.